Welcome to Tabernacle Talk. Tabernacle Talk is a Bible study podcast brought from Tabernacle Baptist Church in Essex, Maryland. I'm your host, Brian Self. We hope this podcast encourages you to know Christ, grow in His Word, and show His love to others. Let's dive right in. Hey, welcome back to Tabernacle Talk. Today we are in Matthew chapter 5 and verses number 33 through 37. Matthew chapter 5, verses 33 through 37. Jesus is preaching one of his best known sermons, the Sermon on the Mount, and we have been walking through as Jesus is declaring the good news of the kingdom, the gospel message, that those that were once far away from God, those that have been encountering hardship in the brokenness and sin of our world, that they can experience God's kingdom and God's new life. We have been learning about what kingdom citizens look like, what the kingdom of God citizens do and believe, how they think, how they treat one another. And today we are talking about our words. So we went over, if you will, the sixth command, which is not to murder. And we saw the heart that God has under that. It's not just don't kill people. It is also love and care for people so far that you don't even insult others. You don't bear hatred in your heart for others, that there's genuine love flowing in and through you to other people. Then we saw last episode that it's not just the seventh commandment of not committing adultery, but it is that you treat other people in your mind and your words and your actions as though they are valuable and important, that you value marriage, both your marriage, if you have one, and you value other people's marriages, if they have one, that you don't subject people to simply being sexual objects in your mind, but you have an estimation of worth and value and importance, viewing other people as being part of the same family of God that you are. Now we're going to be in talking about, if you will, it's kind of like the ninth commandment of not lying, but it's a little bit more involved than that. So let's begin reading in verse number 33. He says, "Again, you have heard that it was said to our ancestors, you must not break your oath, but you must keep your oaths to the Lord." There, he is quoting from Leviticus 19, which we actually went over on Tabernacle Talk many, many months ago, Numbers chapter 30 and verse 2, and Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse number 21. So he's like combining these three different portions together. He says, you must not break your oath, but you must keep your oaths to the Lord. So he says there was this practice in ancient Israel that if you make God a promise, you have to keep that promise. And if you tell other people within like the name of God, so you say, listen, I swear by God, I swear by Yahweh, by the Lord, that I will have this project done within the next 3 weeks. The command in the Old Testament is you have to keep your word. If you make a promise, you have to keep it, and you must keep your oaths to the Lord. Those could be the promises that you are making directly to God, that you say, oh, I'm going to give you this offering. I'm going to give you this ox or this amount of, money. I'm going to give you, think of Hannah in 1 Samuel chapter 1, that she promises she's going to give her firstborn son Samuel to the work of the Lord, and he's basically going to be a volunteer Levite, if you will, during that time. So they kept their promises to God, or this could be as people are making promises and saying, okay, I swear by, sometimes it was the Lord, but by 1st century AD, that had kind of fallen out of favor with the Jewish people. They wouldn't mention God's name very much. So they would say, listen, I swear by the temple, or I swear by the heavens. I swear by, this or that, that's like close to, it's adjacent to God. It's the place where God is worshipped, or it's the place where God lives in the heavens. But they would stop short of actually saying, I swear, or I promise it by God. If you will, it was people borrowing the reputation of God to say, listen, God's going to do stuff to me if I'm not faithful to keep my word here. So Jesus then tells us in verse number 34, he says, you've heard that. He says, but I tell you, don't take an oath at all. Don't make promises. Now, that's going to sound weird. Let's continue going. He says, I tell you, don't take an oath at all, either by heaven, because it's God's throne. He says, don't swear by the heavens or by the skies or by the throne of God. He says, do not swear by the earth, because it is his footstool. He says, don't swear by Jerusalem, because it is the city of the great king. He says, don't swear by your head, because you can't make a single hair white or black. He says, I don't want you to make promises by things to try and bolster the truth of what you're saying, or to bolster your reputation through bringing in things that you can't control, that don't belong to you. And it's not God's fault if you slack off and you don't get the work done by a particular time. If you forget that you had that meeting with that other person, that's not God's fault. And so don't bring God's reputation into what you are choosing to do volitionally with your life, or even things that might be out of your control. And so don't promise things that you can't actually control. I think the funniest example that he gives there is, don't swear by your head, because you can't make a single hair white or black. There, he's not talking about dyeing your hair. We recognize that even in the ancient world, some of that could happen. He's saying you can't, through your willpower, change whether your hair turns white or turns back to black once it's gone white or gray. He says you have no control of that. He says, so don't try and if you would, in today's kind of lingo, Jesus would be saying this: don't make it so that you have to have a contract or a formal agreement in order for someone to actually take you seriously. Be faithful to your word. Here's where he ends then in verse number 37. But let your yes mean yes, and let your no mean no. Anything more than this is from the evil one. Jesus says when you're trying to put like little spins on stuff, when you're trying to convince people of things and they just can't take your word for it, he says this kind of trickery, this treachery is from the evil one. It's from Satan. It's the trick that he pulled in the garden with Adam and with Eve, that he says, well, did God really say? And it's kind of that hemming and hawing. It's the, well, can you really believe it? Oh, I know I said it would be done by that point, but you know how it goes. It's those things of people being untruthful, not in sometimes intending to tell a lie, but simply that they cannot be believed. If they tell you that they are going to be there at a particular time of day, you frankly just know that they will be there 30 minutes after that, or they will be there, an hour and a half after that. And what the Lord would have us to do is to be truthful and genuine and honest within our words. Can I ask you, are you a trustworthy person? If you tell someone that you are going to do something, will you be faithful to do it? Like, is that your reputation right now? Or do people know if we actually want this person to be true to their word and to show up on time, we need to tell them that, the event actually starts 30 minutes before. This kind of person, I have to keep, nagging them 2 weeks before the project actually needs to be done, because if I don't motivate them, they will not be faithful to their word. They're not trustworthy. Is that the kind of reputation that you have? Now, all of us, we are humans, and what it truly is. Now, I recognize, it's 2026. You have people with different disorders and things and difficulties within the mind. But just because some of us have difficulty in keeping things straight all the time or being sufficiently motivated, that does not then give us an excuse to be untrustworthy. In God's kingdom, everyone is trustworthy, just like everyone loves each other and they are kind to each other and they don't insult each other. And just like no one objectifies another person and everyone values relationships. In God's kingdom, everyone is trustworthy and they are faithful to their word. And so that's who we need to seek to be as well. If that means that we need to maybe seek some extra help, we need to put up some systems in our life so that we can be counted on because we are willing to work through our difficulties and our disorders, that we say other people are worth it and other people being able to count on me as their spiritual brother or sister or as another human being. It is worth me putting in the effort to be a faithful, consistent, trustworthy person. I love in James chapter 5 and verse number 12 that Jesus' half-brother James says this exact same type of thing. He says, "Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, either by heaven or by earth or with any other oath, but let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no, so that you won't fall under judgment." The question for us today is, how trustworthy are we? When we tell someone that we're going to do it, will we really do it? If we say we are praying for someone or we're going to pray for someone, are we genuinely doing it? When we tell someone that we're going to show up at a particular time, will we do that? When we say that we're going to pay someone back, do we do that? If we, have covenanted together as part of a local church to care for each other, to love each other, to forgive, to pray, to give, to worship, are we being faithful and consistent in following through on that? If we are married, are we faithful? Like we have told our spouse, I'm telling on myself a little bit because this morning my wife was like, "Hey, thanks for taking out the trash, but you also left these cardboard boxes." And I was like, "Well, aren't those supposed to go out on Friday?" And she was like, "They can go out on Friday, but I would much rather you take them out on a Tuesday when our trash day is." And she was like, "And this is not the first time that we've had this conversation." And so even as, I'm walking through this, I'm going, man, I was not trustworthy. Like I wasn't a good partner. And I could promise and say, "Oh, I'll never forget again." But what God wants is not for me to promise to do better. He just wants me to actually be trustworthy and consistent in that situation, in my relationship with my spouse, that as they have trusted me to do something, that I would be faithful to actually do it. Why would I do that? Because God is trustworthy. Everything that he has said that he is going to do, he has done. Everything that he has ever said that he will do, he will be faithful to accomplish it. That's what God is like. And so the people that are in his kingdom should be people that have that exact same goal and mindset. Well, I got to tell you guys, this is such an easier, simpler topic than the last, episode or two. But even with it being simpler, it is still a massive challenge to my heart. I hope it is to you as well, that as we walk through the Sermon on the Mount, we see the wisdom of God. It is not the wisdom of this world. It makes sense, but it's not the way that people often think about these types of situations. And so being challenged to follow and imitate Christ, thankful for the fact that he has paid for all of the times that I have failed others and all the times that you have failed others. Knowing God's forgiveness, seeing his example, let us follow in obedience. If you made it to the end of the episode and you're on Facebook or YouTube, comment the word liar. Liar. Actually, that might look a little weird if everyone just comments on this video says liar. It might make everyone think that I'm lying to you. Comment oath breaker. Comment oath breaker. And same thought, but a little bit funnier. If you're on Apple or Spotify podcasts, leave us a review. It helps us get connected to more people. Look forward to joining you next episode. And I can't recall right offhand what that next section is. And so it'll be a surprise for all of us. Looking forward to it. God bless.